Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 336. Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. This episode is part 2. It is the completion of my second interview with Eric Thorton. We did this interview live at his healing studio in Cottage Lake, Washington. That is near Woodinville, for those who don't know where Cottage Lake is. And we had such a difficulty with Skype that I just drove the 15-20 minutes to his house, and we did it live. So the audio is a little different because we're live, passing the mic back and forth, and the energy is different too, because we got to do it in his healing space and had such wonderful conversations about spiritual health and its practical application to our lives and to our psyche and to our physical health, and understanding a bit more about enforcing boundaries, energetic boundaries. And he taught us several tools. And this is the completion of our conversation. So enjoy. If you loved part 1, you're definitely going to love the completion of our interview. If you haven't already, I definitely encourage you to go back and listen to my first interview with Eric Thornton, episode 327, as he shares his story of what led him to becoming a spiritual healer. It's quite fascinating. He has many strengths. And so far, more than 10 listeners since I published that episode have worked with him and have had great results. I am excited to work with him myself. I have this theory about, or this personal philosophy about healing and self-growth, that let no stone be left unturned. Let's look towards every possible avenue to learn from and to gain an experience. I guess that's just my personality. I'm very curious, and if you're here, you're probably curious too. How can we heal and optimize our life emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically, and spiritually? And you'll definitely learn that if you keep listening to this podcast. Well, thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for sharing these episodes with those you love. Please come join our Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group, for wonderful community discussions about everything holistic. And also, if you're called to, I'd love to work with you. I love working with clients, helping people to dial in their holistic health. I am a health coach as well as a life coach, so I'd love to work with you. And I know that Eric, my guest, would love to work with you too, especially if you're a healer. So if you'd like to know more about how to work with me or how to work with Eric, please visit the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com, as all the links will be there. Excellent. Well, enjoy today's interview. Coming back to the discussion, we got pleasantly sidetracked on around talking about reincarnation and this idea that we were taught about purgatory. I shared my story around purgatory because I thought it was interesting that my friend, in one of his past, not past life, but his current life, his near-death experience, where he saw his friend in purgatory, in the afterlife or whatever, or in between lives. So this idea that we create our own purgatory.
It's exactly what he did, but he got trained into thinking what he told his friend when the friend died and saw him. He was trained in his human life or lives to think that way, so he was stuck in his own purgatory or his own little bit of hell.
So many religions have documented reincarnation. What do you want to talk about or teach the listeners today about reincarnation?
Well, reincarnation is amazing. I did a long pause there because It is amazing. It really is amazing. We get to build on everything we've done. So most of us have, old souls have a lot of past lives, and younger souls have fewer, obviously. That's just by definition. But we get to maintain the wisdom that we've learned by just simply going through each of our lives. And in the we don't remember until you reach a certain point in your walk to mastery. You don't remember your past lives. You may have glimpses of this, that, and the other. And the new age and old age, if the old age even goes there, looks at the negative, safety-oriented things from past life. The fact is, 99% of the stuff from past life is wonderful. And I wish people would focus on that. It's like your ability to interview. That's from past life. You know, you had an inquisitive life. You were born that way, right?
Absolutely.
Right. That came from past life. Past life gives us the things that we're good at naturally, and they call it intrinsically. You know, you get a little kid that in 2 years he's a maestro on the piano. That's not because they never touched a piano before. It's because they've done it before.
I'm watching my son. He's turning 4 next month. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching our son have, gifts that he was clearly born with because we didn't teach him. When he was 18 months old, he knew the alphabet. He could point to any letter and tell you what it was. And he's reading now. He's not even 4 yet, and he's reading. Right. And we're just seeing before he could walk, he could dance to rhythm, and he could start to sing, and he can hold a tune. Right. And we thought, man, he has almost like perfect pitch. He can hear anything, and he can hold a tune. And it's just like these little gifts that we're seeing come through him that are, I don't see this in other kids like I see it in him.
Right. Now, we all have music in past life. We all have all these different things. But when you've practiced something in a past life and you've gotten good at it, whether it's being compassionate, whether it's being a psychologist or a teacher or a musician or whatever it is, it's going to come to you naturally in the future lives when you run into it. So your son ran into music in this life. In the past life, maybe he was really good at it. And so it just clicked and it opened up the book on, so to speak, on music. And there was all that information on a subconscious level. So then when he hears it, it just clicks because it's there. And it's amazing if we teach our kids individually. If you have a parent who doesn't like music and you have a kid who does, you need to encourage the music because that's a natural intrinsic ability, even if you don't like it. So we have to pay attention to those things. Now, the human body is safety oriented. So we are going to focus in easier on the negative things from past life. You know, and in all of our lives, when we resolve issues, we balance energy somewhat naturally. Not completely, we still need to do the energy exchange. But if the issue's resolved, let's say you get in a car accident, you almost die, or you die and you come back like your friend. And he's got a chance to review whatever happened. He can go to a psychologist, he can learn from it, he can grow from it, turning the whole thing into a growing moment. Like if your friend talks about the person that committed suicide he met on the other side. Now, he could talk to us about or listen to the show, and he would know, well, his friend is in a bad place because of what he was taught by other humans. And your friend could then learn, oh, suicide maybe isn't such a bad thing. It's just a judgment thing that we make because we're afraid of death. And then your friend might not be so afraid of suicide, which takes it off the table as an option.
So it's charged for him.
It's charged, exactly. So the past life with it, if a person has committed suicide in past life, which again we all will, if it is a bad thing, they're taught it's a bad thing, they're going to wake up the book on that they committed suicide in a past life. They're going to look at it, the knowledge that comes into them subconsciously, maybe fear of, maybe they threw themselves off a high object. and they committed suicide in a past life. So then they're going to start reliving being thrown off a high object. And then they're going to be thinking, when they're going to think about these negative things when they feel negative, and then they're going to remember jumping off a high object and how it kind of ended things for them. And then they're more likely to do that again. If they're taught that suicide is not a bad thing, it's just a way of dying, and they start having memories of falling from something high, they can go, oh, that's so sad. You know, the end of their life, they didn't get to keep teaching us all about their perspectives of the world. And so it kind of removes it from the table for the next life.
That's that self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. So I want to know who has the karma on suicide. Because I see so many ghosts, souls that haven't moved on, because they're afraid of the things they were taught that were going to happen after they died.
A little off topic, but how do they move on? How does a soul move on? I'm kind of asking because a friend of mine confided in me that she, for her entire life, incomplete souls talk to her. Mm-hmm. And they come to her because they know that she can hear them, mm-hmm. and they want help, and she's like, get out of my head, la 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 la, I don't want it. And she does not want to dedicate her life to helping souls move on. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really? Like, this is kind of like the movie Ghost, right? So just a little bit off topic, but how do souls learn to move on?
By what they're taught.
So we can, as a ghost or as a soul, we can, outside of a body, we can learn still. We can keep growing and learning. We're evolutionary souls. We all grow and learn. But in a life, if you're taught suicide is bad, if you're taught that this is the way to heaven, then that's what you're going to be looking for when you die. And if it's not there, you might go, oh, that's going to lead to hell. I don't want to go that way. And so then you literally don't go to, as people would put it, the light. The light is knowledge. So when you do die, you leave the body, and literally you can see everything around you, around your body, and you kind of go, wow. You don't feel your body anymore. And you have full knowledge. You have your full personality. Eckhart Tolle talks about this moment. Have you read any of his books? Yeah, a long time ago. Right. Do you remember? Power of Now. Power of Now. Do you remember him talking about that moment when you're going to sleep or you're just waking up, and he sits there and goes, you're observing your body either going into deep relaxation, and you're observing your brain going to dreamland. And you have all the intelligence, all your personality, and everything in the observer. Yeah, and you don't feel your body. You don't feel your body. That's who you are. And if you're taught to have fear around death, you are going to have fear around death. And you won't move ahead, most likely won't move ahead as easily, or won't move ahead at all. Now, people that become ghosts, some of them become ghosts simply out of fear of what they were taught by our cultures. Others don't move on because of their own narcissism. They must control the family. They're the patriarch or matriarch. And they must control the money and control the family. No one can survive without them. So they literally hang back to control people. It's a free will thing. And then all that family dies. And they're left there as a ghost for the next person. And they can become an inhabitant or something like that of a house they used to live in. I'm currently looking at some mansions on the East Coast for people. And they want them cleared because they're full of the previous owners. Or some nieces or nephews or something like that. People that didn't want to move on. They just love the place. And they just want to live in this palace. Or the matriarch was the last one to die in this one particular house, and she didn't move on because nobody loved it as much as her. And so she's haunting everything in it. It's kind of
Everyone goes into the house and feels cold or feels this, that, or the other, even though she's a quite nice person, the soul is, but she's got to control the house. It's an 18-bedroom house or something like that. Huge place. And anyway, but we then connect them back up with what we call time so that they can see, oh, I'm dead. And then make a different choice. If they are a ghost with possessions from their life they just left, we call that a poltergeist.
So a ghost who still basically has those entities attached to them from their life, like parasites.
Like parasites, they go with them. They didn't shed them because they kept their narcissism. And so those are ghosts that can move things. And depending on the level of the parasite, if it's a minor daily stuff, your ordinary activity, it's not a lot.
At your talk, your friend shared about how her father, once he passed away, was throwing things in the room for the whole family to see.
Yeah, threw things in the room, ripped shells off the wall because he wasn't heard. And he was a violent person, and in life, if he wasn't heard, he would destroy things. So in his death, he stayed around, the possession stayed with him, it held him back, and the guy literally, I got the biggest crack up, because their family didn't quite believe her, that this stuff existed. And then she's at home down in Portland, and they're up in Snohomish or whatever up here, and they're having things ripping off the wall. And things crashing to the floor. And so they call her up and go, what is going on? They're panicking, Well, I told you, this was Dad. He wasn't going to move on right, and this is what's going to happen. And, well, what can we do about it? Well, do you want me to call Eric? Okay, we'll do whatever we have to do to stop this, right? And, so I had to get what some groups call a claven, or an agreement with everybody who's alive in the current immediate family, for me to interrupt this event and then address him and do a exorcism on his soul, remove the possessions of life. And then with that permission I could do it. And then he went, because no more ego then, and he went, oh. It moved on like that, and all the creepiness stopped immediately. And they're all going, oh, wow, okay, yeah, we believe that. And then a week later, well, maybe it's just didn't, they use their cognitive biases and legitimize their own previous behavior. And they, but it was very amusing that they all panicked and wanted me to do the work. And it was amusing to me that, of course, it stops instantly as soon as you get rid of the poltergeist. Now, poltergeist exists obviously everywhere, just like ghosts do. And so the poltergeist that was down here, about 4 or 5 houses away from here, my daughter saw it, and she was 6, and she's down playing with a friend, and she looks across at the neighbor's house through a window. I said, "Who's the lady in the window?" When the friend went, "There's nobody in the window." And my daughter goes, "Yeah, he is. She looks like this, blah, 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 blah." And the mom comes up and goes, "Okay, she's related to Eric." So she calls me up. "Well, your daughter is seeing this energy seeing something in the neighbor's window." I said, "Well, that's interesting. So I'm going to take a look." So I go, "Oh, the lady's name was Alda. And she lived in that house. And she died in the house. And she owned the house from when it was new. And then, because of her illness, she went bankrupt and lost the house. And then her son, it was sold. And then her son bought it several years later from the people who bought the house and moved her back into the house. And she was crippled up. So they put an elevator in the house. And she died in the house. Except she was obsessed with the house. So anybody that came in that house, still to this day it occurs. There's all kinds of weird things that happen. I couldn't get rid of it. because I didn't have permission from the owners of the house. So lights go on and off. Vases go flying through the air. People get strange sicknesses. She doesn't want anybody in that house.
And you haven't just like walked up to your neighbors and been like, listen, I can help you.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
You know, if this was accepted as normal, then I could do that. But I can't. The guy's a mechanic. He's a younger soul. He doesn't believe in stuff. He just has weird things happening. And I told the lady, the mom, about it, and the lady's name was Alda. And I told her what she looked like, and that is what she looked like. But she had a possession. It stayed with her, and she was a poltergeist. Now, those poltergeists can, depending on the level of the possession, can walk into your energy field, just like a ghost can. A ghost can literally, it's called a walk-in, can come into your energy field in your body or just in the outer auras, and their health issues and their attitude for the life they left now become yours over time. So they may have cravings for things, and all of a sudden you have cravings for that you never did before. Or they may have certain emotional issues, you get those. Or certain diseases, you'll get their exact disease. It influences your whole energy field. Like energy comes together. They bring a set of energy in, let's say they died of cancer. They bring that cancer energy in, you're going to get cancer. Now, if there's a poltergeist in there, it can be any of these other things we listed. That poltergeist, a diabolical obsession, depression, subjugation, etc. It can be there. And if it came right into your energy field and starts controlling every aspect of your body, and in every way, including who you marry, it changes your personality. You take on their personality traits because they're working at it. They want to own you.
How do you protect yourself?
You can't. If it happens, it happens. That's where the medicine men and women come in. They can see that, and they can get rid of it. So it takes a village. But the medicine men have been eliminated. The medicine men and women have been eliminated from that village.
If someone who's listening has the gifts, can you teach them? I mean, do you have a desire to replicate yourself and help help more medicine men and women to awaken their abilities?
I do. We do that through part of my, if you say, egoic reason I do the work is to help heal the healers. Because if I die, I'm just one person, then it kind of ends. If you can make it safe for people to explore who they are on a soul level, that's when it makes it safe for a person's gifts. That's when they can get through the drama, the human drama, and start coming out the other side as a healer. And we have to do it step by step as per each individual's guides tell me that it can be done. Because everybody wants my gifts. I want what you have. That's what humans are. And the fact is, if people have my gifts, and I don't say this stubbornly, I earned them through past lives and this life. So when like the gift of second sight, it's the gift of second sight. It's not the gift of only seeing lovely things or only experiencing lovely things. You're going to experience things that will break your brain. So you have to be psychologically ready for that. And anyone who says, I want that, is not psychologically ready for that. That is the first dead giveaway. Because it's an egoic desire. Masters are born. We earn that in a horizontal fashion, not a vertical fashion. Masters are no different than anybody else. It's just they've had these series of past lives. They've had their old souls, very old souls, and they've gained a wisdom that keeps their brain from doing drama. So when a true master sees a demon, that's kind of the weirdest thing you'd ever see. It would make the movie theaters in horror movies cringe because they're so awful looking. If you don't do drama, it doesn't matter. If you do drama, and drama comes from ego, then you're going to be frightened. And that has the ability to frighten you so much, your brain goes into tilt. You become schizophrenic.
Wow.
That is not okay. So guides, yes, we all want to be the ascending master. I'm not there yet. We all want that, though. And we will all get there in the proper time. But people come in and they go, well, I want this gift to be da-da-da. I go, okay, well, this is the type of pathway we're doing. We start here with the dramas in your life. And we start solving the riddles. Then, when you have a vision, because often people are gifted when they come in, partially gifted, you just don't react to it. So then the guides can give you another vision. And you don't react to that either. You just look for the knowledge.
So your guides know when you're ready and they start giving you more and more information.
Right. Other than that, it's the New Age, where you learn techniques. You get certificates that say you mastered this technique. That is not a master healer. That is not wrong, but it is a person that wants something egoically. Masters don't want what they have. It just is. They don't know anything different. Someone who sees something else, and I want that, that's all of pure ego. So the New Age and Old Age teach their techniques. They give partial information that can be very dangerous, like the idea of suicide. All the crap about suicide is subjugation. All the people that made up the rules on suicide don't remember what it's like on the other side. So it's all rhetoric and subjugation.
Well, also, how many people are left hurt and wounded from having their loved one ripped away from them?
Oh, yeah. It hurts. And when, for no matter what. I mean, I've had that happen. And our brain, our body brain, our animal brain doesn't like it. So we become quite vulnerable. And and that's when people seeking power and authority can make all these rules up, and we believe them. Because our brains want to put everything in a nice little box and make it better. We don't want the pain. But they're actually causing more pain with these rules and regulations that they've invented. It's like the idea of original sin. That's one that just bothers me. That was a 15-year human trial called what's the guy's name? You're gonna have to edit for a moment. Called the Peglossian trials. That was a decision made by human beings that all humans are flawed. That wasn't made by angels. That wasn't made by master guides. That was made by human beings. And then they said it was divinely inspired because it was a Vatican trial. How much pain and suffering has that decision caused on the entire planet?
Well, right. You think of the millions of people that have died in all sorts of religious-based wars.
It's trillions of people. There's 7 billion people currently blowing around the planet this year. How many people die and are born? It's trillions of people that they have literally imposed their opinion on and called it divine. When I sit here, and this was one of my issues when I was raised with these rules, I started working as a healer, and I went, these rules don't apply. These are human. And I started going, and I still do. I kind of go, but like your friend who can go down into the Vatican, and my friend who also has that ability to do that, they find the truth out. It's all made up for the sake of power. Well, who calls men on their boat? It's men. Women are starting to do it now with the Me Too movement. But who calls? It says, dude, let's open up the view a little bit and see what the end result is going to be of this grandstanding you're doing for the sake of power. We see it in our political systems. We see it in our religious, our New Age. We see it in every aspect of everything. Who calls people on it? And so I'm strangely in an odd position. And it's interesting. It's a really interesting place to be. But I can sit there and go, no.
Right. Well, since you were born, like you said, you receive the information behind, like you receive the truth behind the lies.
Right. But it's like, who calls these white men? You look at our government, and I'm a white man, so I can point it out. Who calls them on their crap? I get to see that, and it used to get me in major trouble when I was a kid, because I called people on their crap. And no, I'm sorry, you're lying. And then I get smacked across the room, So I learned to keep my mouth shut, and I learned to try to be politically correct as much as I can be. But people find me quite controversial, because I'm like going, I'm calling them on it. Mm-hmm. Like suicide. We're taught that it's wrong. So we believe it's wrong after we die. And it sets up a whole set of scenarios. It's not necessary. And I literally have helped hundreds of people that have committed suicide cross over the rest of the way. People bring, once you have healing energy, real authentic healing energy in your energy field, you have a different glow about it. And so you'll draw lost souls to it, kind of like a moth to a light.
Yeah, that's my friend.
Right. And so people come in, they've been here before, and they come in, and they have a whole bunch of ghosts hooked in their energy field somewhere. That's one of the first things we do. We just do it. Because they're looking then to cross over. And we can help them do it. And the person feels better. Especially if they have a walk-in or a poltergeist walk-in. You get them moved on, and then all of a sudden, they're sovereign again, and their body will start reversing the illnesses that they got from having the walk-in.
So you must really attract people who've kind of tried everything, and it's like, then they come to you.
It's kind of sad. I'm the last resort. Really, like my people who've been here and had sessions, they've now know I'm the first resort. I had this guy who was a couple weeks ago. He went to a chiropractor, had a heart adjustment, and it's just, he was in agony. And so his wife called, and I said, well, had a heart adjustment, broke off a tiny bit of stenosis on the vertebrae when he got the heart adjustment. So he had a little tiny piece of calcium hitting a nerve. So I go, well, can we work on him? Yeah. Okay, so what we're looking for is that calcium to dissolve and the nerve pain to then go away. That's the proof that it dissolved. Now, if you want to go get an x-ray and show that this is what happened, great, because I'm all for science. He didn't want to do it. They've been here many times, so they knew they'd had it verified before. So they just said, no, fix it. So the next day it was gone. And it's like, and they're very grateful, and they did it first. They could have gone for acupuncture, physical therapy, drugs, anything, and exhausted naturopath, allopathy, every system they could, and they'd still have that little piece of calcium in there. Even go for an operation. And then they got the scar tissue from the operation. Right. Or they can try it first and see if it works. And I tell everybody, if it doesn't work this way, at least we've cleared the area for other things to work better. But sometimes I have many people call me up that are regular clients. I'm getting the flu. Okay, so we just send them healing energy, and it lasts a day or two instead of 15 or 20 days. Sometimes it doesn't work. And I say, well, then go get some antiviral medication. And because God works in all ways. And so I don't claim an exclusive on anything. But why not? I don't charge for those calls. If a person has a problem and they wait weeks or months to call me, then there's an issue with why didn't they call me to begin with? So then there's some process. Then they got to come in for a session. But I only open that door for people that have been here and are regular clients, because otherwise I'd be inundated by 7 billion people. So it don't work that way. So don't start calling me with your problems.
I got the flu.
Yeah. No. You want a session, we'll work with you. But anyway, so we started on this with people that I mentor people through the processes of healing their past lives and this life and their attitude, and then they become a clear tool for their guides to slowly introduce more and more things that challenge their brain. And they increase it slowly, so the brain comes along, so when they get the big stuff, they don't break. And we bring people along. I have probably, just in my seeing people one at a time here, I probably got 100 people I mentor. And they come in 4 sessions. They're taking my time, so I deserve to be paid. But if they're regular, I do give them a considerable price break. But that would be the same as them paying for tuition. And so they're good with it. And then literally it opens up who they are.
And out of all the people you worked with, how many are like actively also doing the work you're doing, like healing?
They don't do my work. Every person's individual, but they are doing healing in their own way. Pretty much 50% of those are able to actually pass it on to other people. And that's a pretty good percentage. Yeah. And the others have just understood, and they decide they don't want to go that direction. They want to use it in another direction, which is fine. I mean, let's look at it logically. What's better than a CEO that's gifted?
I don't know what.
Nothing. They know what's going on in their business. They know. Intuition says we got to change this. Intuition says this is a great employee. This is a great person to hire for this thing. Their intuition, their knowledge, their second sight is amazing. And they just know things, even though the world says different. Now, I don't agree with everything Bill Gates does, but he had enough knowledge to know that the world needed what he knew. That is a gift. Mm-hmm. And he brought it to the world. And he instinctually, when he was the CEO of Microsoft, he knew what needed to happen. And he could sense that this person could do it or this person could do it. It's because he had a gift or has a gift in that area. And if we can enhance that gift, they become even better at it. Mm. I work with a lot of people that are amazing people that run businesses because we enhance their gifts. And then they also use it for good. We don't help people that are going to use it for sorcery. We just go, the guides go, that's enough.
You return people away when you realize that has a client ever come to you and you realize that their intentions would be malicious and so you don't help them?
Yes, very much so. First of all, I always check before someone comes in whether we can be of use or not. But then if someone will come along for a year or two or something like that, and then they start taking the gift and using it in ways that are not in healing, they're using it for ego, then the guides literally stop. They can still come in, but they're not going to get help with growing their gift. In fact, they may, if it's bad enough, the guides will actually block it. They give people a chance to grow their gift. If something changes in their life and they can't, then the guys they would create karma if they use the gift, if they allow them to continue using the gift for ne'er-thee-well situations. So the guys will back it off.
So like someone who's owns a company, if they're going to use their gifts to prosper their company, prosper themselves, but make a product that helps people, everything's good.
Everything's good.
And then if someone takes their gifts and tries to... The same person then decides to cut a few corners, and now their product is going to hurt people.
They're going to change it then. Or they're going to make the business take another direction. But the challenge is, so this person now has a new product that's going to take it in a way that's going to help hurt people. Who is it that introduced it to them? Why were they vulnerable to this introduction of an idea or a product from someone else that's going to hurt people?
I just think of like Monsanto, for example, or Bayer, or, the pharmaceutical companies and the people that run them. And some of them do good, but then there's things like Monsanto, which is they created Agent Orange. They created, that something that chemicals that are doing a lot of harm. And now some people believe they're doing a lot of good because the agriculture industry, some people believe it benefits them. Other people believe it harms them. But at the end of the day, we're looking at a company that's produced chemicals that is doing a lot of harm.
Right.
Is that a lot of karma that's being placed on
Yes.
those that run it?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. The Monsanto knows the product that creates the Roundup. They know it causes issues. So then they do studies that say it doesn't, to counteract what they know. So, yeah, Roundup kills plants. It makes wheat ripen. But there's a chemical in it. So they can feed more people, which is magnanimous, but they're poisoning people at the same time. The corporation itself is for profit. So this is where we're getting into another subject. This is what is called the great evil of the United States. This very thing. Our corporate laws. Our corporate laws make it so that people think they can bypass sin. It's an easy scapegoat.
But it's not just the United States.
No, it's all over the world, but we kind of started it where we fine-tuned it, shall we say. Other countries are too. But when you sit there and you override the well-being of a human with profit, and you have to legitimize the profit, there's something wrong. The fact is, Monsanto should be going, in a proper energetic world, should be going, well, okay, we have a product here, and it's showing that it's causing problems. What do we do about it to make it so it doesn't cause problems, or do we need to take it off the shelf? Instead, they look at it, they dig in. Well, that's our biggest profit maker, so we have to dig in and counteract the truth. That's the great evil of our corporate systems. It's all for profit instead of for doing the right thing physically and therefore energetically.
But those in charge, that they're going to have their day basically, because those who are making these decisions, they need to learn from it. I mean, what can we do as individuals to help the world? Because we only have individual power, but what can we do as individuals to help the world move in the proper direction?
Not buy Monsanto products.
Or any products that we feel are harmful.
Well, it's not. We need to look at it for what it really is, because people can legitimize anything. We need to really look at what is harmful and what isn't harmful and make good, proper, energetic, I call them energetic decisions. I used Roundup a ton when I was a kid. We had a tree nursery. My grandfather did. I ran it for years. They told us you could drink Roundup. Well, I was in it. I've had to do some serious 21-day fasts to get it out of my system because it causes cancer. But they lied to us.
Yeah.
They point blank lied. So And they're doing it in courts. They're legitimizing their bad behavior. So is it all these people that are that used it innocently? Is it they're having karma? No. But if they don't speak up and stop using it and stop legitimizing, well, I've used it before and I'm still alive, they are legitimizing their bad behavior. So they keep buying the product.
So those who buy products that we feel that the company, so we're supporting as an individual, supporting as a consumer, companies that we know are not doing good in the world.
Correct.
Is that also on a personal level taking on karma because we're supporting something that's harming people?
Once we know, yes. So it's like, I don't use any Roundup anymore, period. Because I'm supporting something that's hurting people knowingly, therefore I'm part of the karma. I didn't learn that when something's hurting people, that's what it would show. I didn't learn that when something's hurting people, and a bunch of people are legitimizing it. Now that is the fake news. It's the other side of what Donald Trump's talking about. Anyway, but it's like, if I legitimately know that something has a possibility of hurting someone and I use it, I become part of that corporate system and part of that karmic system. If I don't know and I'm innocent, fine. It doesn't cause karma. But if once you know, you're part of it.
What, and just for those who aren't clear on the karma's role, why is it so important to make sure that we're karmically going in a positive direction?
Well, we have to explain karma and take it out of the New Age. Karma is not sin. Sin is knowing something and you do the opposite for yourself. So it would be a sin against my body if I went and used karma. I went and used Roundup. Now that I know. The karma is I am knowingly, with education, promoting something that's going to hurt somebody. Therefore, I don't care. Therefore, you have learning to do. Because eventually you're going to become the healer, and you have to care. So it proves you don't care, and you still have work to do. So karma is the learning curve. It is not a judgment. If you don't care, you have to learn to care. So you will live a life then where you aren't cared about in whatever way it is, and that's your karma. And you learn by not being cared about, you learn to care. That's the learning curve. That is very simple.
It sounds a lot like your chi ball exercise where the universe is kind of throwing your stuff right back at you as a mirror.
Exactly. That's the education of the soul. The soul doesn't learn by reading a book. The soul learns by doing things. And if it's like my soul goes, whoa, now you know karma, that Roundup's no good. You're not using it anymore. Where someone else's soul hasn't learned that. And so he just says, oh, well, that's just people making stuff up. And they confirm the fact that they're using Roundup. And if those people who are using Roundup figure that it's no good and they're giving their family cancer, they often go into denial about it and use more of the Roundup. It's kind of sick because they're legitimizing their bad behavior. And so and then they give their whole family cancer and they're watching them die. And they know in the back of their mind, part of it was the damn Roundup they put throughout their yard. And they cognitively have to go into denial to make it, but in the next life, they will have that happen to them too. So humans have this thing called cognitive bias. We have to legitimize where we're at in order to feel safe. And so people literally legitimize bad behaviors so that they feel safe. And that safe is righteousness, proof. It's like you look at the white men in Congress, the old white man. If they change the rules now They have to admit all the years in Congress that they've spent were wrong. And they're not going to do that. They have to admit they failed if they vote this way. They have to admit the cognition, their things they were taught were wrong.
So it's like saving face.
Correct. Causes a lot of karma. But it's an animal thing. It's a thing we do to stay safe.
So in the long term, it's healthier to be vulnerable, admit when we're wrong, and make the course correction, because then we're not taking on something for the next life.
Right. It stops karma. Stops karma from building up, if you will. Stops your learning cycle, because you've proven you've learned. You've proven it is far better to just admit you're wrong and go, good. You know it now. It's out. It's great. It's like the one new Congress lady. She was, on film dancing and swearing and carrying on the Senate. And she goes, yeah, I did that. So what? And guess what? The media's done with it. And she goes, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. The media's going to have a heyday with it. And she's getting her karma payback for lying. If she just goes, yeah, I'm just like everybody else, there's no news. She's learned. Just be plain and simple. Am I a perfect person? Did I do things growing up that I wouldn't do now? You bet. I'll totally admit it. And it's like, and I learned from it. And I grew from it. I'm a better person because of it. But if you don't admit you did something screwy, you don't learn from it. So happens. We were talking about possessions. They play on this. They play on these human emotions of safety and things like that to own you. They play on these cognitive biases. They play on these filters that we develop so that they can keep you in a certain pattern. And this is where the bigger possessions start to come in. This is where the ones that'll make your belief system so strong that you'll kill people. These are people like Hitler and a few other people currently in office. They have these huge possessions, and it uses their cognitive bias. Hitler was half Jewish and half whatever. His Jewish father was a Rothschild. He hated him because his mother was a servant in the Rothschild estate, and the father impregnated her and then got rid of her. So the possession used his wound to own his ass and to teach the whole planet, ultimately, tolerance. His lack of tolerance taught the opposite.
That's interesting. So karma is not just for the next lifetime; it's for this lifetime right now. So it's that, like you said, that the lack of tolerance, it brought on the lesson of tolerance. Or when, for a Monsanto executive, for example, could be the Oreo executive, the product, they are not caring that they're harming people, and they're legitimizing it, and that not caring is going to then show up in their life. They're not going to be cared about or for.
Correct. So you take an Oreo cookie. The Center for Disease Control, the Food and Drug Administration, has now said they want sugar out of our country in 10 years. And they've reduced the amount of sugar allowed to 100 milligrams a day. And they want it 50 milligrams in 5 years, and then 0 milligrams in 10 years. And Oreo's still pushing their product.
And lobbying for it, though.
And lobbying for it to get that truth of science pushed back into the background so that they can sell more Oreo cookies. I'm not picking on Oreo. Right. It's just a generic thing. They were required, they got small Coke bottles again. They can't advertise that churros is healthy for you anymore because it's 40% sugar. But they can say it might reduce heart disease because there's oats in it. Because oats do help reduce cholesterol. But that's all they can say.
But those oats are filled with glyphosate, Roundup.
Yep, they're filled with Roundup and they're filled with sugar. And sugar causes cancer and diabetes and amongst many other things. And it's proven. But they don't want to not have Cheerios on the shelf. So they got to find another way to persuade people to buy their product. So karma, they got it now. They know sugar in their products are killing people. The doctors and big institutions are benefiting from it because they get to treat the cancer and the diabetes.
I heard a statistic once, and 1 in 3 people are diabetic or pre-diabetic on their way to diabetes. Right. I heard
in this country,
in the United States, and similar numbers in other countries. Yeah. And because a lot of countries like to follow how America eats. Mm-hmm. And then I also heard that a diabetic patient profits the medical industry on an average, $12,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That is a lot of money to want to keep people sick.
And that's just for the diabetic medication. And how many people can actually afford $12,000 a year? And they're raising the prices of the insulin. This doesn't include all the other illnesses that are caused by your blood sugar being out of balance. And how do you balance blood sugar and diabetes? You stop eating the things that are causing it. It is that simple. There's no profit in it, though. So they want to squish that information. They don't want it there. That's creating karma. For all the CEOs, for all the advertisers, for all the employees. You know, if I were working for a company personally, if I were personally working for a company that I knew had a product that the FDA, the Center for Disease Control, the World Health Organization recommends, says, no, that causes cancer, I would have to go work for another company. There is no way I'm going to help produce a product that causes cancer. It isn't going to happen. Now, am I stuck with certain parts of our culture that cause cancer? Yes, I don't have another choice. So therefore, I don't have another choice, like driving a car. We live in a huge country. We have to drive cars in order to get to places because we literally don't have Safeway a block away, so to speak. And so I have to drive cars. The tires have silicone in them. That causes problems for people. The gasoline creates carbon, not as much as they say, but it does create carbon. And that's a problem. But then you take that to the next step. The companies that produce cars squish inventors that produce motors that will get 150 miles to the gallon with no pollution. So I'm driving a car that causes pollution for the earth and other people, but I have to drive that car because the motor companies won't produce cars that don't pollute pollution. Mm-hmm. They're the ones with the karma. It's not me. I don't have another choice. So yeah, Ford, GM, my father-in-law literally is an engine inventor. He produced engines for years for other countries that get over 100 miles to the gallon. There's thousands of inventors and lots of patents created by these people, but they're not part of the Ford or the motor companies. So the motor companies go, because we got deals with oil companies. Profit. So we all lose. And they're the ones with the karma because I have to drive this certain type of car. So it's a complicated thing, but when you get back down to the basics of it, it's not complicated.
Listen to your gut, listen to your emotions, and every single thing you put in your shopping cart, for example, either online shopping cart or your grocery store shopping cart, just know enough about the product to go, is this company harming people or helping people? and make sure that our money, to keep our conscience clean, to keep our karma clean, our money is going towards companies that help people, and we're taking our money away from companies that don't help people.
Right. When you buy Oreo cookies, again, I'm not picking on Oreo company, instead of an apple, and you knowingly are feeding your kids Oreo cookies that are going to give them habits for sugar that cause them cancer, what are you doing? You are creating karma for your kid because you've given them a bad habit. When we realized this and we changed our eating habits, we presented it to our children and we go, look, we taught you wrong. We did. We taught you completely wrong. This is what is the actual sound science that everybody's poo-pooing. But this is the actual sound science. And it can't be argued with. It'll stand up to the test of time. And so here it is. You do what you want with it. And, one of our kids changed their habits. The others are changing them slowly. But it's up to them. They're adults now. They came to us with the knowledge we had. Now we're teaching them different. But if I don't teach them different, then I'm creating karma. If I present it to them, teach it to them, and they can make a choice as the young adults they are now, then I'm not creating karma. Because I didn't know prior to that. Once I know, then I'm definitely creating karma.
Got it.
So, and we're talking about all these different influences. Those are thought forms. Those are cultural thought forms. We talked about that earlier. The Oreo cultural thought form, but it also goes with sickness. There's the cancer thought form. What happens if you get a diagnosis of cancer? It hits you. You now belong to this group, and you're going to die.
There's a lot of fear.
A lot of fear. And that creates more cancer. One of the things we work on with people that have cancer is disconnecting them from it being their cancer. How many times you hear people, they're taught, well, your cancer is this, that, and the other. That's not my cancer. That's something that's happening inside my body, but it's not mine. And you can't get rid of it as long as it's your cancer. It'll keep coming back because you own it. It's yours. Now you belong to this group of people that are cancer survivors or cancer people.
So what do you call it? Like the cancer or a cancer?
The cancer, a cancer, that cancer. This is something that's happening to me, to my body. We're not owning it. Then it gives it half a chance of all the different other ways that God reveals itself to work on cleaning it up. Because cancer is a moment in time. It's just something your body's not recognizing anymore. And if you own it energetically, you're not going to get rid of it. I hear those commercials on TV, the cancer commercials. Your cancer, that on and on and on. And I just sit there and I go, I have seen that people who own their cancer, we can't help them. Or people that say, a client that she knows more than everybody. It's a female. Knows more than everybody. And so she's controlling all her cancer treatments. She got cancer, everything. And I told her point blank, I'm not her healer. Because her attitude, she knows more than everybody, but apparently it didn't work because she got cancer. But she won't look at that. So, I really don't know if she's still alive today or not. Because it wasn't going away. It was only getting worse.
I like it. I like the things that you point out for us to look at, because I really think that level of self-reflection and examination, that's where the growth is.
Exactly. It's very much so. We have to look at these things. We have to call BS on ourselves. It's called post-traumatic stress disorder from our own crap. One of the definitions, I wrote an article we talked about last time, of PTSD is physical reactions to prolonged stress. It doesn't have to be an event. It can be a series of tiny little events that build up. And so we go to the internet and we look at all the possibilities for this symptom. We have 284 symptoms. We've got 10,000 different ailments. And we look at all the reasons we can have this symptom. Well, it's all energy. And we traumatize ourselves. We give ourselves diseases because it's said over here that this symptom is this disease. And it's not, it's this other one. But you'll get that disease because now you believe that. So we have to be mindful. We have to look at our own crap. We have to call like BS on the old white men running our country. We have to call it on ourselves too. And my guides are big on that. They love to call BS on me because I have a chance to hear them. So I'm fortunate. And they can go, well, so Eric, you really believe that? Or, how's that working for you, dude? Or, who can destroy you faster than you, Eric? Nobody. It's all about, I can destroy myself really good by believing some of these things. So I literally have to take people out of PTSD that have caused it themselves by simply, believing that this symptom is this. Then that doesn't work, so they go to this. And that doesn't work, they go to this. That doesn't work. And you got years of stress caused by this research, causing themselves more and more illness, flus, allergic reactions. You're all stressed all the time. Your body's going to blame the oranges. You become allergic to oranges. Or oranges put on 10 pounds. Because you're stressed all the time, because you have a symptom of your knuckle hurts in your hand, and you're afraid you've got rheumatoid arthritis and all these things, and you just panic about it, and on and on and on. And you have osteoarthritis because you heard it when you were 3, but you don't remember it.
So the cortisol and the stress of the worry does create disease.
It does create disease in itself. We call it energetic PTSD, and and it allows this belief system, again, allows in the PTSD, allows in possessions, which compound it and make it worse. So because I always come back to it, the medicine men and women have been marginalized on our planet, authentic ones. So then we have a bunch of fake ones out there, or people that want to be. And they're the ones that used to call BS on the leaders. And so the leaders eventually decided, let's marginalize those ones, because they're calling BS on our BS. And and we don't like that. But it is the authentic medicine men and women that have the ability to just go, hold on, let's look at this. But nobody listens.
That was like the Spanish Crusades, where was that what it was called, that era where they, in the name of Christianity, came through and eradicated all the medicine men and women that were, according, again, it was against the religion. Mm-hmm. That was their belief, but that was actually just their justification for burning witches, basically. Uh-huh.
Burning witches, making it so that the medicine men and women stopped developing their gifts. They wouldn't go there. Even for me to do this today, I know I can have serious ramifications from it. Very serious ones.
What do you mean?
Well, I use the word Oreo cookie. They could sue me. That's why I then quantified it. I'm not picking on Oreo. Oreos are delicious. People should have Oreos once a year or twice a year, because I'm not against Oreo cookies at all.
It's like Oprah when she mentioned she mentioned when she learned about the truth about the beef in the cattle industry. She said something along the lines of, I'm not going to have a burger again." And then she went through an entire lawsuit.
She had to. That's where she met Dr. Phil, so it all worked out. Okay, but literally, because I mentioned a word, I can be sued. Because we can sue anybody for anything, and they have big corporate money, and I don't.
But for hundreds and hundreds of years, if a woman showed intuition and healing gifts, she would be crucified, basically.
In various ways. And same with men. And so the ones that could call BS on the world don't develop anymore, are afraid to come out, or just aren't here anymore. There are many tribes in the U.S., Native American tribes, that have no medicine men and women now. Because they're just like going, the souls are going, they ain't going to do that. Not going to do it.
I want to wrap up our interview by you sharing a message. I really feel like you have something to say to those listening. Can you tap into the collective of the listeners, and do you have a message for them?
Pay attention to the soul's personality, not the default personality. The default personality is what developed because of our culture, because of the choices your parents made, your demographics, the things you were taught in school growing up, the situations you were taught from.
The limitations imposed upon you?
Correct. The soul's personality is this knowing. It's not a voice. It's the thing in each one of us that says, you better take another look at that. It's that knowing, that intuition that has no voice in your background that says, We override it with our confirmation bias. But if we paid attention to that, this would be a much better world. What an example of that is every rape victim is interviewed if they go to the police. And the first thing they tell you, they ask you, what did you know that you didn't pay attention to? And every single victim will go, there was something in me that legitimized the bad behavior of the person who abused me. Now we're talking adults only here, okay? They knew. Their soul knew that this was not okay. And they overrode it by being polite or being part of a culture that says, no, 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 no. And then they were raped. That's what I'm asking people to pay attention to. The thing that police tell you to pay attention to. It's the knowing. It's not the voice. It's the knowing.
The gut feeling.
The gut feeling that we override with our culture. If you look, it's Gavin Becker. He wrote, he's the world's most foremost individual that teaches people in the popular eye how to stay safe. And he's a victim of abuse himself and things like that. And he teaches people to pay attention to that voice or to that knowing to stay safe. You can be in a crowd, and he teaches like he teaches some of his people, which he's put in his book, so I can repeat it. One of his people is one of them was Barack Obama. Another one is what's the guy who Bono. And he teaches all these people, and he teaches them you can be in a crowd and be safe, but if you feel something, leave. Don't make excuses. Just leave. And he teaches all the people protecting him. He teaches the president's people that keep him safe how to pay attention to that. And and we all have it. Mm-hmm. And it applies to even the apples we eat. if you have a choice between an organic apple and a non-organic apple, and you have the money for the organic apple, you choose the organic apple. Now, the apple is better for you than many other things. So I'd rather have you have the non-organic apple than to eat a pile of sugar. But if you have the money to not have the pesticides, your intuition tells you that one's better because it doesn't have the chemicals on it. Whether the chemicals are good or bad for you, it doesn't matter. They're still not natural. So you would choose the organic apple. So you can stay healthier and it's better for your body, better for your digestion. But people will go, nope, I've learned that that doesn't matter. And so they override their own intuition, their own knowing. Because I want to prove, I want to die at 75 of cancer by the time it's too late because I did not eat organic. I want to do that because someone said that that's okay. That's fine. That's what they want. That's good.
But those that are listening have, I think they have the bigger dish, and they can hear the gut. I think it's so funny. I've spent years trying to listen to the gut, and then I spend years listening to my logic brain override my gut, but my gut will say, like, bring an umbrella and it's a sunny day. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, it's a sunny day, da da da. And then like 5 minutes into it, it's raining. It's just, yeah, over and over again. The gut, which isn't a loud voice, and like you said, it's more of just a knowing. Mm-hmm. It's often quieter, so we have to tune in and listen and take it seriously.
Well, it's like that. It's not your fault that you didn't bring the umbrella. So it's like it's not the rape victim's fault they were raped, but you had a chance to change the outcome. And that's what we have been summarily taught not to pay attention to. We have been taught, literally by the corporations, to not trust our body or our brain or our intuition in any way. You know, you can't get vitamin C from an apple. You have to have it from a pill. So why eat the apple? Because we've been taught that this has 1,000 milligrams and the apple only has 50. But if you eat an organic apple, it'll turn to 1,500 milligrams inside your body. Your body converts it. If it's not an organic apple, it can't convert it because you've got pesticides in it. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. But if it's an organic apple, it can literally turn to 1,500 milligrams of vitamin C. But the people that are selling the vitamin C pill don't want you to know that. And the people that teach you about apples don't have enough money to educate you because they're not selling any products. They're not selling the apples.
Yeah, there's no kale advertisements out there. No billboards talking about how good kale is for you.
Right. You know, you hear about it once in a while. But you don't hear about what kale's doing all the way through your body, if it's pesticide free or non-pesticide free. You don't hear about that. There's no money in it. So you hear about, well, you must take chlorophyll in a pill form. Well, that pill's only a quarter inch big. If you ate a big piece of kale, you get a hell of a lot more chlorophyll and it's cheaper. Right. And your body can do something with it. Yeah. And but the people selling the pill for the chlorophyll don't want you to think that way. Because they're selling the pill.
So we got to listen to our gut.
Listen to our gut.
Thank you so much for sitting here with us and sharing your wisdom. I know a lot of healers listen to this show, whether they're on the path to be a healer this lifetime or next. Right. There's a lot of healers listening to this show, and I know that your mission is to heal the healers. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Is there anything you'd like to say to wrap up today's interview?
Good luck.
Thanks.
Sure, no problem. You have to have a sense of humor about all this. You know, if Oreo cookies going to sue me, I'm not going to be happy. That's why I tell everyone you should all eat Oreo cookies. But but it's like, it's hard. It's really difficult negotiating this onslaught And I don't believe in luck. You make it. But it's hard, and I fully admit it, and I have the utmost compassion for it. It is, we are being, the onslaught is endless. And it's like, I live it too. I have made serious errors in judgment because I was taught incorrect information. And I have to admit those errors. I taught my children how to get cancer. I have to admit that in order to teach them something else. That's painful. I taught my kids to have cancer.
Well, what's more painful is denying it and denying it and denying it and doing the old behavior.
It gets worse the longer you deny it. So it's like, yeah, good luck.
It's harder to perpetuate the lie. It's painful at first to get vulnerable and admit our where we've gone wrong, but then it's easier from then on because then we can choose the path that's healthier.
Right. Denial is a big wide river. Yeah. And we drowned in it.
Thank you so much for hanging out today. I definitely want to have you back.
Well, thank you. I'd be happy to do it. I got lots of subject matter.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.